Kenya, a country of incredible wildlife and diverse cultures. But did you know its name comes from a towering mountain that still defines the nation's identity? This remarkable nation, nestled on the eastern coast of Africa, is a place of breathtaking contrasts. It is where vast golden savannas stretch out to meet the horizon, teeming with some of the planet's most magnificent creatures. Lions, elephants, giraffes, and countless other species roam freely in its world-famous national parks and reserves. The country is also a vibrant tapestry of human cultures, home to more than 40 distinct ethnic groups, each with its own language, traditions, and history, contributing to a rich national mosaic that is as diverse as the landscape itself. At the heart of this dynamic country lies Nairobi, its bustling capital city. It is a modern metropolis, often called the Green City in the sun, where skyscrapers stand tall against a backdrop of natural beauty. From here, visitors and locals alike venture out to explore the wonders of the land. Kenya is globally renowned for its safari adventures, offering unparalleled opportunities to witness the Great Migration in the Maasai Mara, or to see herds of elephants against the stunning backdrop of Mount Kilimanjaro in Amboseli National Park. Yet, amidst all this natural splendor and urban energy, one geographical feature stands above all others, both literally and figuratively, giving the entire nation its name and a powerful sense of identity. This feature is the majestic Mount Kenya, the second highest peak in all of Africa. The mountain is an extinct volcano, its jagged ice-capped peaks piercing the sky at an elevation of 5,199 meters. It is a world away from the warm plains that surround it, a realm of glaciers, alpine meadows, and unique flora and fauna. For centuries, this colossal mountain has dominated the landscape, visible from hundreds of kilometers away on a clear day. Its presence is not just a geographical fact, it is deeply woven into the spiritual and cultural fabric of the people who have lived in its shadow for generations, holding a sacred place in their hearts and beliefs. The story of how this single mountain gave its name to an entire country is a fascinating journey through language, history, and culture. It is a tale that begins with the indigenous communities who revered the mountain as a divine place, continues through the arrival of European explorers who struggled with local languages, and culminates in the birth of a modern nation that chose to carry the mountain's name forward as a symbol of its heritage and strength. The name Kenya is more than just a label on a map. It is a direct link to the awe-inspiring natural wonder that has shaped the land and its people for time immemorial. Long before the world knew it as Kenya, the Great Mountain was known by other names, names that beautifully captured its most striking feature. For the Kikuyu people, the largest ethnic group in the country who live on its southern and western slopes, the mountain is called Kirinyaga. This name is a compound of two Kikuyu words, Kiri meaning with or having, and Nyaga meaning ostrich. To the Kikuyu, the dark patches of rock and the bright white snow and glaciers on the mountain's peaks resemble the black and white plumage of a male ostrich. Thus, Kirinyaga poetically translates to the mountain that has ostriches, or more simply, the place of whiteness. Similarly, the Kamba people, who live to the east of the mountain, had their own name for the majestic peak. They called it Kinya. Just like the Kikuyu name, the Kamba term also directly references the mountain's appearance. In the Kamba language, Kinya means the mountain of the ostrich, once again drawing a powerful visual parallel between the bird's distinctive feathers and the snow-covered peaks against the dark rock. Both names, Kirinyaga and Kinya, show a deep connection to the natural world. They reveal how indigenous communities observed their environment with great care and used vivid, meaningful language to describe the powerful landmarks that defined their world, long before maps and borders were drawn. The whiteness described in these names was, of course, the permanent layer of snow and the 11 remaining glaciers that cling to the mountain's highest points. For people living in the tropical warmth of the East African plains, the sight of a mountain so tall that it was perpetually crowned with ice and snow was a source of immense wonder and reverence. This white cap was a constant, shimmering presence on the horizon, a beacon that could be seen from vast distances. It was a spectacle so unusual and so powerful that it naturally became the mountain's defining characteristic, immortalized in the names given to it by the local peoples. These indigenous names are far more than simple labels. They are expressions of a worldview deeply rooted in nature. They reflect an intimate understanding of the local environment and an appreciation for its unique beauty. The names Kirinyaga and Kinya are a testament to the poetry and precision of the Kikuyu and Kamba languages, capturing the essence of the mountain in a single evocative term. This mountain of whiteness was not just a geological feature, but a living, breathing entity that held a central place in the cosmology and daily lives of the people who called its foothills home. The journey from Kirinyaga or Kinya to Kenya began in the 19th century with the arrival of European explorers and missionaries in East Africa. In 1849, a German missionary named Johann Ludwig Krapf became the first European to report seeing the snow-capped mountain. Stationed in the coastal region near Mombasa, Krapf was traveling with a Kamba caravan when his guides pointed towards the interior and spoke of the great Kienya. Krapf, attempting to record the name in his journals, was faced with the challenge of transliterating a sound from the Kamba language into German orthography. It is a common occurrence in cross-cultural encounters for sounds and pronunciations to be altered. In his attempts to write down what he heard, Krapf transcribed the name Kinya into spellings such as Kenya and Kenya. The subtle sounds of the Kamba language, particularly the way the vowels and consonants were pronounced, were difficult for a European ear to capture perfectly. The two sound in Kinya was likely shortened and the soft consonants were hardened, resulting in a version of the name that was easier for him to pronounce and write. This mispronunciation was not an intentional act of changing the name, but rather a natural consequence of linguistic and cultural barriers. The name began its subtle transformation from a local term to one that would eventually appear on international maps. This new version of the name, Kenya, was then adopted and popularized by subsequent European explorers, cartographers, and colonial administrators who followed in Krapf's footsteps. As they mapped the interior of East Africa, they labeled the Great Mountain with the name they found in Krapf's widely circulated reports. The name Kenya became the standardized English spelling, solidifying the European interpretation of the local word. The original names, Kirinyaga and Kinya, while still used by the Kikuyu and Kamba people, began to be overshadowed on the world stage by this new, simplified version. The shift from Kirinyaga to Kenya is a classic example of how colonialism reshaped not just landscapes and societies, but also language and identity. A name that was rich with local meaning and cultural significance was unintentionally stripped of its original poetry and reduced to a phonetic approximation. The story of this transformation highlights the often unseen ways in which European influence altered the very fabric of African societies. The mountain itself remained unchanged, but its identity in the eyes of the wider world was now filtered through a European lens, a change that would have lasting consequences for the entire region. For the communities living around its base, especially the Kikuyu and Embu people, Mount Kenya has always been much more than a physical landmark. It is a sacred place, the dwelling of their god, known as Ngai or Mwene Nyaga. According to their traditional beliefs, Ngai created the world and then chose the magnificent Kirinyaga as his earthly abode. From its lofty peaks, he could watch over his people. This belief imbued the mountain with an immense spiritual power, making it the central pillar of their cosmology. It was seen as the source of all life-giving elements, such as rain and fertile soil, which sustained the communities that depended on agriculture. This profound reverence for the mountain shaped many aspects of daily life and cultural practices. Traditionally, the Kikuyu would build their homes with the doorway facing the mountain, so that upon waking each morning, they would be greeted by the sight of Ngai's sacred home. This simple architectural choice served as a constant reminder of their connection to the divine. When praying, they would turn towards the mountain, directing their appeals for rain, good harvests, or health to the holy peak. The mountain was not a distant abstract concept, but an active and present force in their lives. A source of guidance, protection, and spiritual nourishment. Major ceremonies and rituals were also intrinsically linked to the mountain. Elders would ascend its lower slopes to perform sacrifices and offer prayers during times of drought, famine, or crisis. These sacred journeys were undertaken with great solemnity, as it was believed that being closer to Ngai's dwelling place made their prayers more potent. The forests on the mountain slopes were considered sacred groves, and cutting down trees or hunting within them was strictly regulated by tradition. This belief system fostered a deep-seated respect for nature and an early form of environmental conservation born from a spiritual understanding of the mountain as a provider of life. Even today, though Christianity and other religions have become widespread, the cultural and spiritual significance of Mount Kenya endures. The mountain remains a powerful symbol of heritage and identity for the Kikuyu, Embu, and other neighboring communities. The stories and beliefs passed down through generations continue to shape their relationship with the land. For them, the name Kirinyaga represents not just a mountain of whiteness, but the very heart of their origin story. A sacred axis connecting the heavens and the earth, a timeless symbol of their enduring bond with the divine. The formalization of the name Kenya for the entire country was a direct result of British colonial expansion in East Africa. In 1895, the British government established the East Africa Protectorate to administer the territories it controlled in the region, which stretched from the coast to the Great Rift Valley. During this period, the name Kenya was primarily associated with the mountain itself, which served as a prominent and unmistakable landmark in the heart of the Protectorate. As British influence grew and the administration expanded its reach, the name of the mountain began to be used more broadly to refer to the surrounding highlands. The transition from protectorate to colony marked a key moment in the country's history and the official adoption of its name. In 1920, the British government formally annexed the territory, transforming the East Africa Protectorate into the Kenya colony. The choice of the name Kenya was a logical one for the colonial administrators. The mountain was the most dominant geographical feature of the region, and its Europeanized name was already well established on their maps and in their reports. By naming the colony after the mountain, the British were, in a way, claiming the very heart of the land as their own. This act of naming was a powerful statement of colonial authority. It superimposed a British-approved identity onto a diverse collection of peoples and territories that had never before been unified under a single name or ruler. The name Kenya effectively erased the myriad of local and regional identities that had existed for centuries, replacing them with a singular colonial construct. For the British, Kenya became synonymous with the fertile highlands, which they saw as prime land for European settlement. The name evoked images of majestic landscapes and economic potential, aligning with their imperial ambitions for the colony. Throughout the colonial period, which lasted until 1963, the name Kenya became entrenched in the administrative, political, and social fabric of the country. It was used in all official documents, taught in schools, and became the identity presented to the outside world. While indigenous communities continued to use their own names for their lands and for the mountain itself, the official name of the nation was now firmly established. The story of how the colony was named is a clear illustration of the colonial process, where a local name, altered through translation, was ultimately used to define and control a vast and diverse territory. When the struggle for independence reached its climax in the early 1960s, the question of what to name the new self-governing nation arose. After decades of colonial rule under the name Kenya, the country's nationalist leaders faced a choice. They could have rejected the name as a colonial imposition and chosen a new one, perhaps a name from a local language or one that symbolized Pan-African unity, as some other newly independent African nations did. For instance, the Gold Coast became Ghana and southern Rhodesia became Zimbabwe. This was a common practice aimed at shedding the remnants of a painful colonial past and forging a new independent identity. However, the leaders of Kenya's independence movement, including its first president, Jomo Kenyatta, made the deliberate decision to keep the name. By 1963, the name Kenya had been in use for over 4 decades and had become recognized globally. More importantly, it had become the banner under which the fight for freedom was waged. The name had unified diverse ethnic groups in their shared struggle against colonial rule. Rather than symbolizing oppression, the name Kenya had been transformed into a symbol of national resistance and the aspiration for sovereignty. To change it would have been to discard a name that had come to represent their collective journey towards nationhood. Retaining the name was also a powerful act of reappropriation. By choosing to keep Kenya, the new nation was not simply accepting a colonial label, it was reclaiming it and infusing it with new meaning. The name was no longer just a mispronunciation of a local word used by foreigners. It was now the proud name of a sovereign African state. The story of its origin, rooted in the magnificent Mount Kenya, was embraced as a part of the national heritage. The mountain, the sacred Kirinyaga, had given the land its name, and the newly independent people of Kenya chose to honor that connection, turning a colonial convenience into a symbol of national pride. This decision is further reflected in the design of Kenya's national symbols, most notably the coat of arms. At the center of the coat of arms, behind the iconic Maasai shield and spears, stands Mount Kenya. Its inclusion is no accident. It is a clear and deliberate acknowledgement of the mountain's central role in the nation's identity. It symbolizes the natural beauty of the land, the sacred heritage of its people, and the very origin of the country's name. By placing the mountain on this important national emblem, Kenya's founders cemented its place as the enduring foundation upon which the new nation was built. Today, the name Kenya resonates across the globe, instantly evoking images of sweeping savannas, abundant wildlife, and vibrant cultures. The country continues to be a premier destination for tourism, drawing visitors who wish to experience the magic of an African safari and witness its incredible biodiversity firsthand. From the bustling markets of Nairobi to the pristine beaches of the coast and the remote villages of the north, Kenya is a nation of immense diversity and energy. At its core, the spirit of the nation remains deeply connected to the natural world, a relationship that is perfectly encapsulated in the story of its name. The journey of the name Kenya, from the Kikuyu, Kirinyaga and Kamba Kenya to its modern form, is a powerful narrative that weaves together nature, culture and history. It began with the awe-inspired observations of indigenous peoples who saw in the mountain's snow-capped peaks the beauty of an ostrich's plumage. It passed through the hands of European explorers who, through a simple act of mispronunciation, inadvertently created a name that would one day define a nation. Finally, it was embraced by a newly independent people as a symbol of their unity and their deep-rooted heritage, a testament to their ability to forge a modern identity while honoring their past. This story is a beautiful reminder of the resilience of culture. Despite the disruptions of colonialism, the original meaning of the name has not been lost. The sacred significance of Mount Kenya continues to live on in the hearts of the people, and the story of its name is now shared with pride. It shows how a name, even one altered by history, can be reclaimed and filled with new layers of meaning. The name Kenya stands as a tribute to the magnificent mountain that dominates its landscape, a constant, towering symbol of strength, endurance, and the enduring connection between a people and their land. The story of how Kenya got its name teaches us that a name can be more than just a word. It can be a poem, a historical record, and a declaration of identity all in one. It tells of a nation that looks to its highest peak not just as a geographical feature, but as the very source of its name and a symbol of its enduring spirit. If this story gave you new insight, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. The narrative of Kenya is a testament to the profound and lasting bonds between nature, culture, and the resilient spirit of a nation. Which country's name should we uncover next? Drop your suggestion below.